Since this is more of like a coffee chat, I feel like whenever I chat with you guys, just in general, whether it's in the business boot camp or I don't know how much you guys watch me on social media, but I continuously keep talking about how difficult and how hard 2019 was like a big flop for me. I mean, like life was good, life was grand. But when I kind of sit there and think about what I wanted to achieve and what I was attempting to achieve, like it was kind of a total flop for me. I didn't achieve a single goal last year. I only maintained and actually like lost a little substance to my business in comparison to prior years. And I share this with you because, guys, that is so hard being this far into the business, right? And like new coaches sometimes have these fears about what if I'm not successful, or what if I put in all this time, or like all the what ifs and the fears and all that, right? Because I'm in like recruitment mode right now. I'm talking to a lot of people about joining my team, and there's a consistent theme of people having fears about this. And I tell them my story authentically because I'm like, I'm 6.5 years in, and last year was the hardest year in my business. When you're newer, this is actually easier. When Rachel Hollis said that at Summit, I'm like, damn, she is so right. In the beginning, you just go and you try and you pour in your effort and you fail and you're like, okay, that didn't work, and you just get back up. But once you start to see success and you think you know what you're doing and then you kind of fail backwards, that shit hurts. And I am just coming out of this season where I'm realizing that for someone who's so confident and has seen success and loves this business and whatever, all the fancy adjectives that we want to use here, you guys know my passion for this. It stung. It hurt me. It like literally sucked the confidence out of me, and I doubted myself. And so when I started working with my mentors to kind of, become solution oriented and fix the problem, I couldn't figure out what was missing because I thought that my confidence was on lock. And that was actually the thing that was holding me back, because I started to fail at a very inconvenient time in my business. It was so weird to navigate. And I want to share this with you today because like becoming the CEO and watching people like our guest speaker, Michelle, today, just watching her have that hustle and that CEO mindset is something I'm so thankful that I also adopted early on, because when my confidence was low or when my self-doubt was low, I never stopped. I was clawing my way back to find that confident Colleen. And honestly, yesterday, that transformation post, after all the work we've been doing with stories that stick and fixing our box bio and figuring out how exactly I want to help people. And I knew all that over 6.5 years, but the amount of clarity that I've had from that failing forwards, I guess we could say. Yesterday, that transformation post just gave me the confidence that I needed to solidify all the hard work that I've been doing on myself. And so if you're at a point, maybe you're not, maybe you're like, Colleen, I can't relate to any of this, tuck this tool in your tool belt for something later, and know that you're going to hit a lid in your business. This is something that John C. Maxwell teaches. It's called the law of the lid. I didn't want to get that wrong. And you hit a certain point in your life, in your business, and there's a lid that we subconsciously, without realizing it, this is what happened to me, place on ourselves, and then we hit the wall. We're stuck. Maybe you haven't even seen the success yet, and you still have the lid on you, and you're stuck. My upline just did a video with us this morning on our mastermind that just wrapped everything together so perfectly of the messy journey that I've been through over the last, I would say like, it's been like 18 months, but really the last 6 months where like, I feel like I hit a rock bottom and like freaking out behind the scenes, like what's happening to my business? Like, why isn't it moving where I want it to go? Because I have some serious goals. And that was very scary for me to not feel like I had that control. And so whenever I would talk with my mentors, mainly my coach, and, I've hired other business mentors before, they would say, what aren't you facing? Or like, what is holding you back? And I didn't have an answer. And I realized now that I did place a lid on myself because I hit that success. And I wasn't seeing beyond that. The amount of like painful, scary growth that I've had to do to realize that like my confidence was not bulletproof sucked. That sucked so hard, guys. And I just want you to know that it will happen to you. It's going to be so sticky and scary. And maybe if you're in that moment, or you've kind of been living in that place, like think about the lid that you've placed on yourself as a person. All I can tell you is that I scrambled through a messy journey to get to where I felt yesterday and today, which is why I'm feisty. And I know I asked Michelle to come on here, and like I asked Haley too. Like Haley came on here last week and shared with us her quote unquote failures, her version of failures from last year. I think it's so important for us to hear that messy journey from other people, because it's not that I was unwilling to do the personal growth. I just didn't know what I was missing. And so when I asked Michelle today to kind of give me her accolades, she like listed off that she's 2019 Premier. She's hit Success Club for 14 months. She's 3-star diamond. She was a full-time nurse. Now she's a full-time stay-at-home dog mom, full-time coach. She's now also a stepmom, which I do hope that you touch on a piece of that today, Michelle, like where she just literally overnight became a stepmom. Like, can you guys imagine not having a kid of your own and then all of a sudden becoming a stepmom? Like, it was just incredible to watch her slay the business and wear this new hat. So talk about CEO owning it. I just want to come on here and say, guys, that owning yourself as a person is going to be step one to all of this. Owning your SHIT is all of this. And I just had to go through that process. Owning the habits and the mindsets that you know you need to adopt or overcome or break through will be the hardest work you ever do. You guys can do the 4 vitals all day long, but if behind the scenes you're not doing the work on yourself, the vitals really don't matter, right? So if I was to be like a fly on the wall and see what your life is really like over there, that could be a huge part of what's missing in your business. And that's what it was for me. I'm like really trying to share my story with you. I know I feel like I repeat myself every week with you, but so many aha moments, so many light bulbs. And I guess like my last question for you before I stop babbling is like, are you willing to accept where you're at? I highly doubt you guys just want to say, I'm done, I'm comfortable, I accept where I'm at. I highly doubt that. It's so hard to swallow, like the personal habits that we have to change and all that. But don't give your goals lip service. Don't say I'm doing all the things, and don't talk yourself into, oh yeah, I have the best attitude, right? Like you can't come to a coaching session, or if you guys are in masterminds or growing a team, if your attitude sucks, I see it all the time. I see it all the time in the team page when people have crappy attitudes about answers back to like feedback or critiques. And I'm like, well, there's half of our problem right there. If I ever got on a call with my mentors and said half the things that I read sometimes that coaches say, I'm like, she would legit hang up on me. She wouldn't put up with that. So don't give yourself lip service. Like dig deep and figure out what it is that you have to burst through. And if you ever need someone to talk to when you hit your wall, I'm your homegirl. But you have to be willing to own it. I'm going to be honest with you on what it takes, because I've been honest with myself, and it like felt physically and mentally and emotionally like I was pulling open my heart and my soul, and I was looking into like these ugly cobwebs, and it was so painful, and I was like, damn it, I thought I already did this work. And what made me realize it was that Mel Robbins said, even if you have confidence, it doesn't mean that you're exempt from losing it. And I was like, oh that hurts. Okay, so I just had to share that because I'm fired up today. Michelle, I'm so excited for you to be here. Michelle's going to share her story with us, and then we're going to kind of chat about how she draws the line in the sand with her business. So you go, girl.
I'm so excited. It's so funny to think, like, when I spoke on your team call the first time, I was like just recently a 1-star diamond. And at the point, like, I thought I was like really just crushing this business, but like still at that point I was kind of half-assing it. So from my mindset from there to now is just so like has changed incredibly, like so much. But so my name is Michelle Cahill. I am from upstate New York. Like Colleen said, before coaching, I was a full-time registered nurse. And today I just really want to walk you through. My story is really just about drawing a line in the sand for belief in yourself. Because in this business, if you're new or old, it's really easy to start comparing yourself to other people in the business. And what I loved about being a new coach and that new coach mindset, like Colleen took it the words out of my mouth is, you don't even know anything else but that. And it's almost like a baby, right? Like they keep falling, they just keep getting back up. And that's the same resilience you have as a new coach. So it may not make sense in the beginning, but I've gotten really good at like really sharing my story and how, like, I'm just going to say this one time, how fucked up my life was and how coaching really did save me. And so if you don't stop, I'm going to put you out of this room. Okay, sorry, my dog is like a hot mess right now. So I started, no, you know what? I'm not even going to do this with you. Hold, please. Sorry. See, kids, dogs, all the same. Come on.
Our dog's adorable.
Out.
Oh, you're in trouble, dude.
She'll try to steal my thunder if I let her. She's a little brat. Okay, you can still hear me, right? Okay, cool. Okay, so I've been coaching for 2.5 years, and I originally did not, my upline now is Ashley Feldison, who spoke on the call a couple of weeks ago, but she was not my original coach that I signed up with. So believe it or not, back in like 2015, I went to an all women's gym and I was paying for a personal trainer. I've always been a gym rat. I do love the gym. And I was paying for a personal trainer, but she was also a Beachbody coach. And she reached out to me at like our training and was talking about hammer and chisel. And it was when the DVDs came out. Told me to buy it, bought a challenge pack. And literally, I didn't go to any more personal training sessions. And then she disappeared and I never heard from her again. So I actually returned all of the stuff. So fast forward to now, it would be August of 2017. I was sitting on the couch at my old house when I was married for about two and a half years. And at the time I was working as a full-time nurse, working nights. I was transitioning to a new job as a home care nurse. And my job at the hospital was taking care of people in the neurosurgery step-down ICU floor. So it was brain cancer patients, brain cancer kids, young men that were on crotch rockets that spilled and were now paralyzed from the neck down. And I also had a ton of gunshot wounds of people trying to kill themselves and it not working. And so for you to imagine going home after helping these people 12 hours a day at nighttime, you kind of like don't know where to turn. And for me, because I didn't realize how unhealthy my relationship was, I turned to alcohol. I wasn't an alcoholic, but I just like to binge drink when I got home because I couldn't get these like images out of my head. And that was the only way that I knew like that would like settle my nerves is to, I would crack open a Coors Light. I'd get in the shower at 8 a.m. and I'd drink a beer in the shower. And then I would go to sleep till like 5 o'clock and it was like clockwork. That's how my life was. And one night I was sitting, August of 2017, I was sitting on the couch and I was scrolling Facebook and I had seen my now coach post a picture in her cell block basement. And it said something along the lines of that she was getting paid to work out, take selfies, and stay home with her dogs, and that we could like, you could do it too. And I was like, what am I doing? Like, at that point, I feel like I had my whole life flash before my eyes. And I was just like, what is the purpose of my life here? This can't be it. So I didn't reach out to her. I didn't like her post. I didn't do anything to her. Like all I did was go onto Facebook and I said, I wish that I could like drink some supplements and get paid to do that and stay at home with my dogs. A bunch of people commented and she cold messaged me. And it was, hey girl, I literally LOL'd at your post. You can do that. You can take selfies and get paid to do it and drink supplements. There's a little bit more involved, but I'd love to like chat with you more about it. And of course, like the nurse in me was like, well, wait, like working out at home, like sweating in my own carpet, that's disgusting. Like, I don't want to do that. And so I kind of like gave her the runaround and we just kind of like fizzled out talking at that time at night. It was like 10 o'clock at night. The next day, a girl from work had seen that I posted that on Facebook and texted me and said, hey, I seen your post on Facebook. I just joined this girl, Ashley, to be a Beachbody coach. you should do it too. She's going to take us out to lunch. Do you want to come? And I'm like, the 35-pound heavier me at the time, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to get a free lunch. Like, yes, I'm going. Like, I love to eat. I'll go for a free lunch. And so I messaged Ashley, and I said, hey, I'm going to meet you guys out for lunch. Do you mind bringing me like samples? But that was before even like Hydrate and Recover had any packets. So she brought them to me in a styrofoam cup in each, like Lemon Energize and the Recover. And I drank them in the parking lot. And she just had this vision. And you've heard her talk before. She just had this belief that I didn't know what she was going to do, but I knew that she was like happy, and I wanted to do that too. So I started off with 21 Day Fix, and I told myself I was going to follow the nutrition plan to a T, and I wasn't going to drink those 21 days. The first 21 days, I lost 10 pounds. And at that 21 day, I remember just crying at the end of that workout. And I thought to myself, my life is fucked up. And I'm in an abusive marriage, a verbally abusive marriage that's been physical 2 times, and I'm still here. I'm miserable. I can't do this anymore. And I need to do something, and I gotta leave. So that was in September of 2017. It was on a Wednesday, and I was going to counseling before, and I just like kept telling her, I need to leave my husband. Like, I need to leave. I don't want to tell my parents, but I need to leave. And mind you, when I signed up to be a coach, I did great between September and December. I was hitting Success Club 30. I hit Diamond in like 7 weeks. I was crushing this business. I had my blinders on. I was doing, we say the things, which I'll go into, I was really doing the things. I was waking up at 4:00 in the morning before I went to work at my new job as a registered nurse in a home care job. So I said, I can do this, and I'm going to leave. So it was Wednesday. I woke up. I called my girlfriend. I said, Caitlin, I'm leaving. Can you come help me pack up my shit? I wrote him a note, and I left. And I moved into an apartment by myself. My parents didn't know. My best friends didn't know besides Caitlin. I took my 2 dogs, and I left. And I moved to an apartment still in the same city. But my parents had no idea like what was going on, because I was too anxious and I was ashamed, because I was, newly married, and it wasn't what I thought it was. And he loved to drink, loved strippers, loved gambling, and that just like wasn't me. So I had to do what I had to do. But in between that, so from the end of September to December, I was still living in that apartment, doing the things in order to be successful. I had the belief. I did the personal development. I was sending a crazy amount of invites. It's like crazy to me to think about. I was sending at least 150 invites every single day, because I was determined to get out of my shitty situation. Because now I was paying for rent, right? So I had a mortgage that I had to I didn't know how to get out of that, right? And now I had an apartment. So I said, I got to hit high Success Club numbers to make some commission and figure my shit out. So I woke up, personal development, invites, 80-day obsession, and then I went to work as a nurse at 8 a.m. and worked until 5. And then I came home and I hustled more until 10 o'clock, and then I kept doing it all over again. So the first couple of months in my business, I was super successful. And it was until the end of December, Ashley signed a new coach that made me really question my belief in myself and really question if this business was for me. Because again, the comparison game is like quicksand. And if you know anything about that, it's destructive, and it will take away all of your joy. So I had seen this new coach go to Diamond in like a day. She was like Star Diamond in like 2 days. Like, it seemed like that, right? My perspective was that. And I thought to myself, I just don't think that this is for me, because I'm not where she is. I've been doing this business. I really was only September, October, November, December, 4 months in my business, right? I'm like, I just don't think that this is for me. I'm not seeing success fast enough like everybody else is. I think that I'm going to take a step back. And that's when I took my foot off the gas pedal. And that is one of the biggest days that I regret, but it does allow me to tell this story that helps other coaches. And So that was, so come January, February, March, April, May. So 5 more months of half-assing this business. I was in and out of inviting. I thought it was too good to invite anymore. I thought, I've been doing this for almost a year. Aren't people, they're going to just come to me at some point, right? Wrong. I stopped doing personal development every single day. And meanwhile, again, still hiding my life, not showing up on Instagram authentically, not showing up on Facebook authentically. And I was like trying to figure out how to do a divorce. Now looking back, there's no way that I would have been able to handle a 6-figure business that year like that new coach did. Like it would have crumbled. So I'm so grateful that, it's a hard lesson to learn, but it was meant to be. So in June, I came to my parents' house and I said, hey, I've been living in an apartment by myself. I'm getting a divorce. And oh, by the way, I'm moving to North Carolina. And they're like, wait, what? And I said, oh, by the way, I'm going to try to pursue my dream now to be a Beachbody coach, even though I was half-assing this business. And they were like, wait, what? What are you talking about? Like, what is Beachbody? They thought I was crazy. Like, stay with your husband. What are you doing? Don't leave your cushy job. And they had no idea what was happening over the last 6 months, right? So I just said, please trust me. I'm moving to North Carolina. I already took the job. I leave next week, is how the conversation went. So I moved in with my 3rd discount coach who I ever signed up. And with this quick story, don't ever discount your discount coaches. So she was the 3rd discount coach that I ever signed up. And I called her and said, hey, X, Y, and Z is happening in my life. I need to get out of here. Like, do you know where I could live in North Carolina? This is where I'm moving to. And she's like, can I call you right back? And I was like, sure. So she called me right back. She goes, it's really weird that you just called me. She goes, my husband and I were just looking at a 2-bedroom apartment. We've been debating getting one because we want more space. And with your situation, I think that it would be like great for you to move in with us. And I'm like, wait, what? And before that, I wasn't really a woo-woo person. I'm a total woo-woo person after like these life events. And so I was like, oh, hell yeah, I'll move in with you guys. So I packed up my car and I drove 12 hours and I started living in North Carolina. I went to the gym every single day. I was still getting results, right? That first month of a coach lost 10 pounds. Then I did 21-day fix extreme. That second month lost another 10 pounds. And then I started 80-day obsession. I got halfway through, but it was just too hard for me with being a full-time nurse and trying to wake up at 4 a.m. But I still lost 10 pounds within that first phase and a half. So I had already lost 30 pounds up until leaving. But again, I was mixing in smoking a bunch of pot, which nothing against that, because now that's great that I can do that now without being a nurse, right? Like just to actually use it for medicinal purposes, but mixed with anxiety medication, mixed with alcohol, mixed with depression medication. I was the skinniest I've ever been. I wasn't healthy and my mental state was a hot mess. So I moved and I told Tabitha like everything that was going on. That Tabitha is the girl I moved in with. And she's like, well, for the next, X amount of time you're here, let's just focus on you. So all of June, I dug back into personal development. I wasn't consistently inviting. I was hitting Success Club, but barely, like scraping it by my teeth every single month. And she would come to the gym with me though. They would buy she was an Emerald coach without even like knowing what this business was, because Jared was signed up as a discount coach and so was her sister. So she was actually an Emerald coach, but she didn't even care about the business. But she'd come to the gym with me. She would always push me to be a better person. We listened to Grant Cardone. That was the first time that I was ever introduced to that, or him, I should say, more of like business professional development. And all of June, all of July, and all of August, I was just, again, half-assing this business. I was showing up on social media at that point because I was in a better mindset that, yeah, I'm following this nutrition plan. And I was just using all of my old photos because I had gained about 15 pounds back from when I moved. And that was a big wake-up call for me later and now, because I'm like, hell, why didn't I even take even more pictures when I had gained the weight back? But I just I gained my weight back, and I wasn't being proof of the product. I was showing up on Instagram, lying and being that jerk and saying, oh, look at like this cute, like turkey burger and like a kale salad and perfect portions. And then I'd stop it and then I'd get 2 turkey burgers because baby girl was not just eating one, right? So I had gained 15, probably almost 20 pounds back. And I was again binge drinking again. And the end of August came, and one day I remember vividly, I was sitting on the couch and I looked at Tabitha and I just said, I don't think this is for me anymore. I looked into opening up an app, and I'm going to start my own thing because so-and-so's another effing star diamond. And here I am, sitting at diamond. I've been in and out, right? Blaming everybody else but me, right? I was jealous of other people's success, but I wasn't willing to do the work. Again, I was jealous of other people's success, but I wasn't willing to do the work that they were doing. If you've ever found yourself thinking that, it's like, it's terrible, really. And I told her, I'm going to fill out my coach cancellation form. And she goes, don't do, like, well, what? Don't do it yet. Like, we have a wedding coming up. You could still use an extra $50 here and there during the week. Like, don't cancel it yet. Let's just see like how this goes. And I'm like, well, you're right. Mind you, to make your own app, FYI, it costs a lot of effing money. Okay. And it doesn't even guarantee, if I couldn't sell a challenge pack, how did I think that I was going to sell my own program and like be this fitness girl and make these like, I don't want to make meal plans and like record myself with these workouts and put them on an app and contact Apple. Like, it's a nightmare, just so you know. It's not a fun process. And so she said, don't do it yet. And I said, okay. We went to the wedding in September, and it's funny because I'm such a person of my word. I was in the wedding of Jared, is Tabitha's husband. So it was his sister who was getting married. So Tabitha's sister-in-law, we were both in her wedding. And I brought my ex-husband because I had RSVP'd too. And I know what it feels like because I paid for like 7 people that never showed up to my wedding. So I told my ex-husband, like, hey, I know like we're about to sign divorce papers like soon, but if you still want to come to this wedding, I feel bad having her pay for our ticket. We were like friends. That was the weirdest part. And he was like, yeah, sure, I'll still come. So whatever. He came, hadn't seen him in months, right? He came, he hung out by himself, whatever. I did my own thing. And I met my now boyfriend, who was the best man in the wedding. And it was really funny because he had actually lost 115 pounds at home, not doing Beachbody. He didn't even know what Beachbody was, didn't even know what P90X was. Like, usually people are like, oh, P90X, I know that. No, he had no idea. And he goes, well, like, why did you, like, what are you doing with it? Like, is this a business opportunity? Like, tell me more about it. And it was until I started talking how much it had changed my life, because again, I told him I went sober. I realized my husband was abusive. I realized my life was in shambles, and it saved my life. And when I said that out loud that night, I'm like, what am I doing? How am I about to turn in a coach cancellation form on something that saved me? And so I went back to North Carolina, and him and I started talking. And from September to January, even with the epiphany, I still had not the belief that I had when I first started this business. I was hitting Success Club, but still scraping to get by. The 1 month I had to sign my sister up because I didn't find another person. I couldn't find another person. I wasn't inviting consistently. I wasn't reading personal development as much as I should be. And I was never talking about the business opportunity. All I talked about was my freaking boot camp. And it was like so boring. I was so boring. And if you meet me in real life, I'm really not boring. I'm a fun person. I'm super awkward. And I say things like, hey, how are you? And then you're like, you say that weird conversation. You're like, oh, sorry, like, have a good day. Bye. Like, that's me, but I am a fun person. And so January came and I was making great money as a travel nurse. I was bringing home $2,200 a week take home. So I was a 6-figure income at that point. And it was really hard for me to think, how am I going to, but I hated my job. And at the time before I left, I actually had a manager. She used to make me come in to chart on my computer because she said that like this Beachbody stuff was taking over like precedence over my real job. And she used to make me like be babysat. And she goes, I have to ask you. So this was like right before I moved. She goes, what do you think you're going to do? Do you think you're really going to, quit nursing and be a full-time Beachbody coach? And when she said that, I was like thinking to myself, like, kind of, because I wouldn't have to be sitting with you here on a Friday at 5 p.m. looking at you eating candy. Like, I don't want to be here with you right now. Like, yeah, this sounds like a good deal. And so whatever, she was an asshole, but I'll get back to her in a second. January comes and I'm like, hey, Ash, I'm going to come to this retreat, but it's really hard for me to think that I'm going to like try to leave my nursing job at some point in my life. I don't know when. And she's like, Michelle, I swear to God, she used to hang up on me too, which is really funny that you said that, Colleen, because one time she will hang up on you. And she has hung up on me before. And she's like, I'm going to hang up on you. Just get to the retreat. And like, I'll just see you there. And I'm like, okay. So I get there and she had Brittany Leggett as one of her guest speakers. So at the end of the day, I pulled Brittany Leggett to the side and I said, Britt, like, can I ask you something? I said, how did you leave your nursing job? I said, I make great money and it's really hard for me to leave, but I'm miserable. And she just looked at me and like kind of like smirked. And she's one of the nicest human beings. And she's like, Michelle, you're complacent. And she goes, I was only making $300 a week consistently. And then I quit my nursing job because I was so unhappy. She said, I had to put my back up against the wall. And I think it's your turn to do that. And I just looked at her. I feel like my mouth just dropped. And I was like, okay, like I'll do it. And then I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, why did I just promise this to Brittany Leggett? Because my luck, I'm going to see her again. And then she's going to ask me like, how is everything going? I can't, like, what am I doing? So I left that retreat and Tabitha picked me up from the airport. And I got in the car and I looked at Tabitha and I said, this is going to be different this time. I have to start doing those things that I did before when I was so successful. And I had nothing but belief in myself that if those girls can do it, why not me? Why not me? And Tabitha said, okay, I'm holding you to it. And I said, Tabitha, I'm waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I am going to send my invites. I'm going to do my workout. That's when Transform 20 just came out. I said, and I am going to do all of the things before I go to work. And I want you to hold me accountable to it. She said, okay. So we went home and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to the gym. And she's like, okay, I'm going to stay here. She had been blogging, like trying to be like this blogger, like bless her heart. She wanted to do blogging. So I was like, okay, do your blog. I go to the gym. I come back and she's like, hey, I need to talk to you. Like Jared and I need to sit down and talk with you. And I'm like, oh my God, they're going to kick me out of this apartment. And she goes, we've been thinking and we really want to do this business with you. And I'm like, wait, what do you mean? Like, keep buying the shakes, like cool, discount code. She's like, no, we want to build this business. Because what happened was Jared had testicular cancer, and which is oddly enough, like random, same Colleen, right? And he had to freeze his sperm when he was 23 years old, and they were going to start trying IVF within that year. And they travel for their business now. They teach people how to sell real estate. She told me that day when we were having this conversation, she said, I can't travel with my baby. Like, how is that going to work? And she said, this is our out, like this business. And we've seen you through the ups and downs and being persistent, but we want to do this with you. And I'm like, okay, like game on. She went to Diamond in like 4 weeks, I think a month it took her. Jared now is almost to diamond, and he just wants to do the back end stuff for her, but he's almost diamond by word of mouth. He doesn't even invite. He's just signed up his family and friends and people from work and random people that he meets in hotel gyms when they travel. So she's almost 1-star right now. She's pregnant right now in IVF. She's been like through a lot, so that's a different story. But all of January, we hustled together. We woke up at 6 a.m. together. We sent invites together. I could not let her down. And at the end of the day, I couldn't let myself down again. February came, and I was so upset because I missed NLC. I missed the cutoff. And I was so pissed at myself because I was half-assing for so long that I should have been there. And so I said, you know what? I'm quitting my job in April. I'm quitting nursing. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm putting my back up against the wall. This is what Brittany said. This is what I told her I would do. And I wrote on my calendar, I will be quitting my nursing job in April. And you better believe it, between then and April 17th of 2019, I hustled my face off. And I didn't see results right away, right? Because this really is like a 2-month, whatever, however you want to say it, business return. It was the end of July when we hit 3-star. And I actually ended the year 3-star premier team. I had all of the elite points. I ended number 216 in the company. In January, I was number like 1,000 something. And I'm not saying this to boast or brag, because you've like, I'm just little me. I'm like not that great, but I want to show you that if you're willing to do the work, you will start finding the people that will come and work with you. And that's what I discovered over the last summer. So I stayed up the last day of the quarter, the final push for elite. I was maybe 3 emeralds away and a couple inactive coaches away from 5-star. But I went on my story and I said, I may not finish tonight the goal that I had set for myself the last half of this year. But I just want anybody out there to know that if you've been debating joining my team, I will be the coach that gets up early with you. I will be the coach that stays up late with you. I will be your dream coach in order to help you like build your business. And I'm not kidding. Like, it's been so incredible 2020 because of that. And not only that, I was super like nervous to tell people about Derek as well. Not only that, but within so on top of all of this divorce, nonsense, new boyfriend, life, we were dating for 4 months. So basically September, October, November, December, January. So January came along, end of January actually. And he got a phone call from a girl that he used to do a bunch of Adderall with and drugs and slept with like 3 times. And surprise, you have an 11-month-old son. And I remember he called me. Yeah, jaw drop, right? Like I see Rachel's jaw hit the ground. That was my same mother effing response when I got that phone call. And he goes, hey, like I think that I have an 11-month-old son. And he's crying because I never wanted kids. Like when we met and we hung out a couple times, I'm like, hey, by the way, I don't want to have kids. Like, I love to travel. I like dogs because I can board them and like leave them. I don't want children. And he's like, I'm like, well, why are you crying? And he's like, because I'm just so scared that you're going to leave me. And I was like, I'm not going to leave you. Like, little did I know like how hard co-parenting is. Thank God she's great. And I set standards. I truly like believe this business helped me set these standards. I said, we're going to have a group chat. You're not going to call him. You're going to call me for certain things. Like, I had to set these very like ground rules. She's actually super cool. She believes in this business. She's one of my discount coaches. She's trying to work the business. I say trying because she's like such a hippie and like such a like old soul at heart, but like, she's just slow. And I'm like, Brittany, like, hello, like, what are you doing? But anyways, so she's a discount coach of mine trying to work the business. She has been so supportive of my business. Oh, and by the way, the baby has developmental delays. So on top of it all, he's possibly autistic. We go in June. I think he has Asperger's, my nursing instinct. He can barely walk. He wears braces on his legs. He's nonverbal. He's aggressive. He bites people. He is a whirlwind. And even though he is not my child, I freaking love that kid unconditionally. And for such a long time, I was so pissed off. And I didn't even realize, like, my God, Michelle, like, why haven't you used this as leverage in your business? And a few months ago, when I really got past, like, not being jealous that this baby isn't mine and finding time for me and fitting in a baby in our schedule and, like, adopting the mom, like, nap time hustle, I've attracted all of these moms. And I now can use this as, like, girl, I get that you're busy and you have kids. Guess what? Me too. And it's not mine. And he can't talk to me and I don't know what's going on. And he's biting people while we're out and about. Like, I get it. So I guess, like, there's no good way to, like, just end this to sum it up, because I've been talking for, like, ever. But I just hope that you see that whatever you're going through, you can either keep your mess as a mess, or you can turn your mess into a message and think and be creative. How can this leverage my business? How can my divorce leverage my business? How can my binge drinking from nursing, like, leverage my business? And I just hope that this gives you some insight. Like, don't quit. Don't give up. Don't think that if you ever quit your job that people are going to run to you, because they don't. You're actually less relatable when you quit your job. I found that out. So yeah, if I can do it and I'm a hot mess, you can too. Okay. I love you. Bye.
The thing that I love about these coffee chats and these stories is that pretty much for 40 whatever minutes, Michelle just told us her struggles. And if we had all the time in the world without any time limits, and I had each one of you get on here and share your story, you would share the exact same journey. The struggle, the hardship, the self-doubt, the confidence, the not showing up, like, it all happens to us, right? And so I bring these people on to help you guys relate to the problem. And I've been saying this so much lately that I don't even know where, if I say it to you guys or my Instagram, but confidence is not how you feel, it's what you do. Mm-hmm. And so if you are struggling with your struggles, that sounds weird to say, I want you to know that you have to be able to have that inner trigger, that inner thought bubble say, okay, what am I going to do about it? Not what are you going to say about it, not because you're going to feel the feelings, right? It's normal. If you guys are doing the Mel Robbins course that I threw up in the team page, she talks about this, right? And so everything that Michelle talked about today dialed down to her habits and her willingness to keep trying. And the last video that I did in the Mel Robbins course, she talked about how confidence is you getting to know yourself and knowing that you will keep trying. Confidence is going to, or like combating the self-doubt is knowing that you will not give up. So if you're a chronic quitter, that's a skill that you need to adopt. If you're a chronic half-asser, if you're a chronic shitty attituder, if you're a chronic all the things, you know, because like we all have our thing. And I recently discovered what my current situation and struggle was. And I was like, okay, what am I going to do about it? And it took me like 6 months to figure it out. And when Mel Robbins said that, I was like, oh my God, confidence is knowing yourself and knowing that you're going to keep trying. So when someone wants to quit coaching, I'm like, why? Like, maybe you don't hit successful, but why would you quit? Like, your 90 PV on Shaco on HD, like, it helps me, but like, I'm not begging you to stay because I need your 90 PV points from Shakeology on HD. I'm like, why are you quitting? Like, this, diving into this can be so much. And I love that. I think 4 or 5 times in your story, Michelle, I could be wrong, but you came back to this every time and you were like, okay, the PD, okay, my workouts, okay, the nutrition, okay, showing up on social media. And it's sinking your teeth back in to climb that hill. And Michelle had like 4 or 5 hills to climb. And guess what? When the universe blessed her, what's his name? Peter, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When Peter just got literally plopped into her lap, she was so much more equipped to do the hardest thing that I think most women will ever do, which is be a mom, if I'm being honest, okay? Mm-hmm. I only have one, so if you have multiples, bless your heart. But she literally looked at the situation and was like, game on. This is how we're going to do it. Because she was willing to show up and try at everything else in her life. I think that she is overcoming the biggest obstacle in the most beautiful way. Like, to be honest, Michelle, I didn't really like see the whole like Peter thing unfold. And then I saw your IGTV pop up, becoming a stepmom overnight. I'm like, whoa, what just happened? And all of a sudden she's momming and like he's eating pouches and taking him to therapy. And I was just like, she just handled that. Like, that just blew me away. And so it's such a wild and messy journey. And I could talk about this stuff forever. Like, this is what I'm geeking out on right now in my current life and helping my clients. And if you're in my virtual wellness studio, guys, it's taken me 6 years to have a community that shows up and works out with me. So if you guys have like crappy challenge groups and you're like, no one's doing the work, talk to me in 6 years. Keep trying. Try all the things. You can't give up. Because imagine if I'd given up on challenge groups and allowed that self-doubt to kind of weigh me down, we wouldn't have this amazing community, of which one of my challengers reached out to me this morning and says, I want to coach. It's all coming full circle, but you just cannot give up. Michelle,
I was just gonna, this just made me think of something. Like, if you're thinking, well, like, this business is hard for me, like, you guys, this business is not hard. It can be super overcomplicated, but I want to tell you what's hard. Being a nurse, working at nighttime, being so overtired, reading a medication wrong, and killing somebody, that's a hard job. You sending some invites so you can help somebody like me save my life, you working out because you have 2 legs and 2 arms and a body, you reading because you have eyes to see, like, you listening to calls like this because you can hear, like, you being able to talk, and, you know, my stepson's tongue-tied, like, that's such a blessing that we like so easily forget about. We are such like in a place right now in this world, again, like instant gratification. God, if we only knew what real hard life was. This is not a hard life. So that's just one thing I just have to say.
I think we forget often in this business, because we see the shiny recognition and we see the people living their best life and making the 3.2 million, and like, then we like compare ourselves, but we forget that you have to stay in your lane. It's just not your time. That's what I told myself this last 6 months. Even though like I've had my success in my time, everything felt like it was crumbling. Like, we blow things out of proportion, right? Like, my life really wasn't crumbling, but it felt like it was, because that's just how crazy we are. And I was like, it's just not your time, Colleen. You have to put in the work. And it sucked that I thought I already put it in, but you have to put in the work. And you have to be patient with that journey, because it took me 6 months to kind of unravel that mess that I had. And now that momentum is going to catapult me through 2020 and attracting those people to me. That was my vision, is I have to be the best me. I have to put the true authentic journey, not just like make it look pretty and awesome and come join me and attract people in. I have to show them that, hey, this is messy, this is hard, but here's how my life is transforming. That's going to attract the right people to me. Haley talked about that last week. I forget what else I was gonna ask you, Michelle. Okay, I guess I'll ask you this question. What are you doing right now for like giving information to someone that wants to be a coach on your team? Like, you're like, hey, you'd be a great coach, and they're like, I don't know. Like, talk us through what that looks like for you.
So I really do attract like a lot of gym people, which is fine. And I literally just say kind of like what Ashley did, because if it worked for me, then my tribe will be totally fine with like hearing something like that. And I really had a great 5-day free coach training last month. I signed 5 coaches from it. That's the most that I ever have. And what I did was I made a Facebook group, and I just really hyped the crap out of like coaching for 1 full week, and really just planning my month of making sure I hit Success Club, right? Because that's like my important thing, making sure I'm doing my job. That's my job, to help at least 3 people. And then now I can focus on recruiting, because that is a big thing in this business that we tend to forget about. And I was really thinking, I was actually sitting in a CBD shop when you had messaged me about like talking on this specific call. and just thinking about like recruiting on all this stuff. And I thought to myself, what is the disconnect between a coach that signs a bunch of coaches and me? And I sat there and I thought, I don't make coaching seem fun. Like, I know it's fun. I know that like watching everybody's stories, which I don't do often, but when I do give myself a little bit of spurge, like, it's so much fun. These calls are so much fun. The parties are so much fun. The recognition is fun. The income is fun. But I'm not portraying that on Instagram very well. So last month I told myself I am going to kill this 5-day free coach training. So I invited a bunch of people randomly from Instagram, and I just said, hey girlfriend, I was looking over your Instagram. I think you have awesome content and your vibes are amazing. I really am picky when it comes to inviting people to my team. And I wanted to know if you've ever thought about being a health and fitness coach online, or like something along those lines. And some people read it and didn't respond. And then some people did and just said, well, like, what exactly do you do? And so I just go into saying, well, you already pretty much do what I do. You provide inspiration, motivation, content on your Instagram page. You have transformations from clearly working out and eating healthy and finding some type of light into exercise. I use a Beachbody I use Beachbody as my platform, but I get to brand myself however I want. So I say I'm a nurse, I'm a stepmom, I'm this, I'm that. And if you want, here is the link to that Facebook group. It's 5 days. It's totally free. You can see and try what I do as a coach. If it's for you, awesome. If it's not, it's totally cool. And I got 8 people in there, and the 5 of them did sign up. Now, again, like if you look at that thing that's like in the Boss Babes group that I follow, I just read it. It was like, I don't know, you have to sign an astronomical amount, like 1 in 10 coaches become a diamond or something crazy like that. So I mean, it's not amazing, but for me, like, incredible. But for me, it was amazing because I don't sign people like that. But I made my group so much fun. And I look up to you, Colleen, so much of just like being so authentic. And that's what I made sure that I showed up in that 5-day group. So I gave them the Vimo, is that how you say it? The Vimo links from my back office for bar blend, lift 4, 6 weeks of the work, and 2 other ones, 21-day fix extreme real time, and something else, another guy program, because I had a guy in there, 2 guys. And I said, these are the workouts that you'll do. Monday, try this. Tuesday, try this. I want you to try all of these just so you can see the variety that we have. And then I gave them either a 2B mindset meal plan to follow because they didn't have the containers, or I also gave them a meal plan, like meal plan B, and then I gave them a food list. And I just said, just pick from like this meal plan. If you don't have sweet potatoes, use rice. Like make it, I just said, like, be simple, like just try it out and see what happens. Day 1, I had them post a picture on Instagram about like what they usually post about, a healthy picture, a gym picture, whatever, just portraying why they like health and fitness and want to inspire people. Day 2, I had them invite 3 to 5 people that liked their picture. And it was so crazy because everybody did Mondays and everybody did Tuesdays, and it was still kind of quiet. But Tuesday night, people were blowing up that like my messenger individually, were like, oh my God, 2 people responded to me and they want to know what I'm doing. What am I supposed to say? I didn't think people would actually respond to me. I can't believe this is actually working. And it was really cool to see their like just face about how this really does work. And I can send you, Colleen, like exactly what the days were. And because for me, my thing, my roof, that my ceiling before January was I'm not creative. Because again, I looked at Ashley and Kate and see them so successful. And I'm like, well, what am I? I'm not creative like they are. They're the teachers. They can make these pretty little things. Like I'm not doing that. And I'm like, no, Michelle, you are creative. Take something that somebody has and make it into you. So that's what I did. I took the outline and I said, how can I bring a Michelle twist to it? And that was me just showing up like you you preach all the time is just me being authentic. I didn't show up as anybody else but myself. And that's why I think I did so well with that February 5-day coach training group. And then I send them a coach welcome email, and then I put them into a pod. And this month so far, every single one, no, well, 3 of those girls, 3 of the 5 so far have almost about to hit Success Club. So to me, like, that's cool. That's my long story short.
Love it. This is why this is so important to have like new people come in and chat with us, because it's just like, I'm creative personally, but sometimes to a disservice. And so like just hearing new ideas from people, you're like, oh my God, I never thought of that, you know? So Megan, I'm down to do a group. I actually was just talking to Candace. I'm like, I stopped doing groups because people kept telling me, well, you're the one making the videos. You look like the leader. I'm like, then go make your own. Because I'm not putting up with that anymore. You don't want to have me with the leader talking, you go make your own. Like, and what's funny is you said that you took what other people made and made it your own. I had immediately had a flashback. Guys, I'm going to have to pull it up for you, and I'll post it in the team page. So Lindsay Matway, Katie Hefner, Lindsay Stay, and Brittany Leggett, all back in the day, made this. It was like the first time that we started doing webinars way back in the Beachbody days. Like, I'm talking 2014. And I looked at it was an hour-long webinar about like being successful as coaching. And I slide by slide sat down and wrote out notes. And I went into pickmonkey.com. This is how long ago it was. And I made my own slides and I made my own video. I basically took what someone else that was successful started doing, and I started making my own. And I did that for years. I would literally use someone else's content because it was content that was great, and I was just twisting it into my own way. I was willing to try. I was willing to show up, and they were so painful now that I look back at them. But like, we can't complain about the things that aren't happening for us if we're not willing to do that kind of like CEO work, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I'm in so many business building groups right now that are like outside of Beachbody because, again, leveling up in 2020. And it just gave me that confidence boost that, okay, I gotta sink my teeth in. That's where I had to get back to. And I see all the work that these business builders are doing with their social media and their platforms. And if at any point that becomes overwhelming to you, you've got to remember, like, okay, I have to grow through this pain and this awkwardness. Like, there really isn't a point that you can just throw up your hands and just say, like, well, I'm not going to do that. My mentor, Keith Callahan, when I hit my wall after having Nixon, I got on the call with him and he's like, Colleen, you have to do what you're not willing to do. And I was like, ugh,
boom. I love that.
And he's like, what are you not willing to do? And I was like, admit that I'm not confident anymore. And that's when I like ugly cried, like chin quivering. It was terrible. I was like, I'm going to go now. So
the one thing I just wanted to mention, this book that I talked to you about, I know that it's time's up, but this book, so hopefully none of this is your book, because what happened was at NLC, there was a book that was left on the table at the premiere table, and like all day, no one ever grabbed it. And I'm like, is somebody going to get this book? Cause it was like in my way. And I'm like, well, at the end, like I'll bring it to the Lost and Found or something. Well, I took it, and then me bringing it to the Lost and Found never like happened. So somebody lost it and I found it. So I went back up into my room, not even thinking about it. Again, woo-woo, like totally happened for a reason. Like, thank you, whoever forgot this book. But I went up to the room and started reading it, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I needed. I need help, like hitting higher Success Club numbers. I need to be recruiting more people. And so it's, I've never even heard of the book before. It's by, what's his name? Weldon Long, and it's called Consistency Selling, Powerful Sales Results, Every Lead, Every Time. And this book is about a man who was in prison. He was homeless. I don't remember what he did. But what I do remember is now he is like a billionaire, because his first job with an ankle like bracelet around his leg was selling air conditioners house to house. And he became one of the biggest air heating and cooling companies. I think it was like in California or something. I could be wrong. But he just talks about how, sales, it's the same. You should have a sales, like, what's the word I'm looking for? like the same.
System,
Yes,
process.
thank you. Same sales process every single time when you're talking to a client. And it's so good. It's so good. And because I know like Colleen was talking about like cold inviting and she doesn't like to do that and stuff like that. I think that Colleen, especially, like, you will love what he like says about stuff like that. But I just marked a page real quick and just to share the 3 things. Oh, of course. The 3 things that you need to do every single time in order to get the sale. And I know that people don't like to call this sales, but this is a transaction thing, right? Like, it is. So number 1 is guarantees and or warranties. So it's talking about minimizing risk for people. I never really talked about and or talk about the fact that we have a 30-day love it or send it back for a full refund. That minimizes so much risk for people. And we never talk about that. So he talks about this. Mind you, I sold 2 challenge packs yesterday by using this process. I'm just going to be honest with you. I did exactly what he said. So made sure I told my client, my potential client, about how they have 30 days to try it. They have nothing to lose, or send it back for free. The second thing, if I can find the 2, is a signature story. So like, read Colleen's post from yesterday, that boss ass picture that she posted. That's a story. That's a signature story. So today I went up and I posted a picture on an awesome freaking story. Signature story, again, which is minimizing risk for people and being honest and authentic, which starts to get them to trust you, which leads me into 3, which is trust. So it talks about exactly what to do in a trust process in order to get the sale every single time. And it's incredible. I think that everybody should really read this book. It's really, really good. So I hope that you guys like it.
Thank you. Last thing I'll say, because I could talk forever, seriously, I know coffee chats are not supposed to be super long, but hey, we're here, we're doing work, right? I am speaking to Jessica Lanier's team in the first week of March, and I told her to ask her team, because she hits like crazy Success Club. Jessica's business just slays, right? And she's like, but my team is having a hard time duplicating. And I was like, well, ask them what they feel like is the roadblock to not hitting Success Club. And surprisingly, the answers that they gave were not what she was expecting. They said price objections. And she's like, okay, well, what do you teach on price objections? I'm like, I don't. Because I don't get price objections, because I do a good enough job of building trust and credibility. People know that they have to have this. Maybe they're only getting $99 bud today. Maybe I'm only selling the performance line stack today, but the price objection is not a thing. I just have to match them up with what A, they want, B, what's going to help them, and C, what they're willing to do. If they're not willing to buy a challenge pack, that's fine. Guess what? I'll get Success Club points at a later month. Social media and your confidence to be the authority to help that person is everything. So I don't deal with price objections, to be honest with you. And so I'm not saying that you're doing anything wrong if you're getting price objections, but just keep chipping away at that. What do I want to say? At that, I don't know, at your storytelling, at the way that you're telling your story. I love how Haley talks about, talking about the problem that she has, and then the solution, and then inviting them. Imagine if you guys did that 365 days a year in your stories, like Haley does. It's kind of just like, that's what you got to do, All right, I got to cut myself off from talking. Okay, Michelle, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. You're amazing.
It's just been so cool to watch you lately. And I mean, it's always been great to watch you, but I can just feel you. I can feel those confident vibes. And you give me so many great ideas all the time when I watch your stories. So keep it up. All right, everyone. Thank you. See you later.